AI technology today is on the brink of an explosion. It's already mastering the ability to create art and even invoke real human emotions and sensitivities. Might be hard to believe, but AI didn't spring up overnight out of nowhere. The first exploits in the field of artificial intelligence actually date back to the 1950s. How could AI be born at a time when color TVs were still a luxury? Well, let's find out. You see, AI in its foundational state is based on the simple idea of computers being able to perceive data, assess it, and generate a response just as a human being would. It stretches a little beyond computing into consciousness and adaptation. Even as soon as computers began to exist, scientists thought to make them intelligent, to possess some mind of its own and learn capabilities that reflect us, humans. The problem, however, with creating an artificial mind stems from the fact that we, as a species, don't fully understand how our own conscious mind operates. Imagine being these poor computers with creators that don't even understand themselves. Now, in the 1950s, creating AI based on our intelligence certainly seemed impossible. Until, of course, Alan Turing's work concerning artificial intelligence gained traction. This approach by Turing tackled the conundrum from a different angle, hammering away at what he saw as the core issue. Strangely enough, the British computer scientist ignored all of the complex questions holding back AI, such as, can an artificial machine think? Does the mind only consist of neurons in the brain? Would an artificial intelligence require a subconscious? And instead focused on one simple yet very important question: can a computer talk like a human? Thus, Alan Turing, in his 1950 published paper, Computer Machinery and Technology, came up with the Turing Test, a test designed to answer his question. It would proceed as follows. A human judge would hold a text conversation with several hidden candidates and evaluate their responses. In order for a machine to pass the test, it would need to replace one of those hidden human candidates and hold the conversation without detection from the human judge. An overly excited Turing predicted that by the year 2000, computers with at least 100 megabytes of memory would be able to pass the test easily. As we'll find out pretty soon, that wasn't the case. AI in general still struggles to pass the Turing test even today. ChatGPT and Google's Lambda are the only two of the popular AIs today to have properly passed the test. With the less advanced technology of the late 1900s, the machines that did pass the test did so using clever ruses to fool the judges rather than superior computing power. For example, the earliest AI model to pass the Turing test was Eliza. Eliza was not subjected to a proper test, but with a relatively short and basic script, Eliza was able to mimic a psychologist. Eliza fooled judges by often reflecting questions back at them and answering in such a way that encourages the human to do all the talking. Another early model that successfully hacked the test was Perry. A scripted chatbot modeled after a paranoid schizophrenic, Perry managed to fool judges by doing the exact opposite of Eliza. Instead of reflecting questions and leading the human to do all the talking, Perry would steer questions and conversations back into its own programmed obsessions and fears. This mimicked a very human-like nervousness that a human judge could empathize with, and thus believed to be real. This exploited loophole in the Turing test exposed a logic flaw with the whole thing, which is that humans can often attribute intelligence to things that aren't actually intelligent. The Turing test was further upgraded by annual computer competitions like the Loebner Prize. The test was made harder so machines couldn't simply hack it with shortcuts. Judges were also made to know ahead of time that a machine would be one of their conversational partners, so they could better detect one. Despite these improvements, some chatbot programs were still able to trick their way past the test. One of them was a model called Catherine in 1997. Catherine could maintain a conversation at a believable level, provided the topic of discussion was then US President Bill Clinton and nothing else. Another popular winner of the Loebner Prize was Alice, short for Artificial Linguistic Internet Computer Entity. Richard Wallace gained inspiration from Eliza when he built Alice in 1995. Alice would use a trial-by-error process to determine the context of human interaction. She often did not give straight answers, similar to Eliza. However, Alice would be easy to expose due to how mechanical her responses were. Nevertheless, Alice remains one of the most successful chatbots, winning the Loebner Prize an impressive 3 times. One chatbot more recently to have beaten the test was Eugene Gustman. This AI assumed the persona of a 13-year-old Ukrainian boy. As a result, during its interaction with humans, Eugene's tendency to use awkward grammar and veer conversations off on weird tangents could be simply interpreted by any human judge as a cultural or language barrier. Pretty clever! And if you think that's clever, then say hello to Mitsuki, or rather, Kuki, as it's known these days. Kuki is a 5-time winner of the Loebner Prize, collecting the award in 2013, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. Kuki is a chatbot with the persona of an 18-year-old girl from the metaverse, a fact that automatically makes Kuki a winner among Zoomers. What's more is that Kuki even incorporates all of Alice's artificial intelligence markup language. Now, as we progressed farther and farther into the future, machines had to continuously be upgraded to be able to beat the Turing Test. Cleverbot was one of the larger chatbot systems. It operated by analyzing huge databases of existing real conversations and using them as prompts in determining responses. However, this system betrayed itself every time it encountered new information that wasn't part of its database. Also, Cleverbot's lack of a showing personality, as exposed to all the other systems that beat the test, led to judges easily determining that they were talking to a machine, not a human. However, these days, there's only one AI tech that's on the tip of people's tongues, and that's ChatGPT. ChatGPT by OpenAI seems to have come out of nowhere and revolutionized chatbots forever. OpenAI, backed by Elon Musk and some of the most prominent figures in the tech industry, managed to bring one of the biggest and most adaptive AI systems so far in the human race. When it comes to the Turing Test, however, the answer to whether it passes is a soft yes. Whilst ChatGPT may easily have the advanced programming required to hold a convincing conversation with a human, it still possesses some blind sides, such as a mechanical tone and a lack of understanding of context in some rare cases. All in all, though, ChatGPT is a certified marker of the current state of AI tech. But even ChatGPT might pale in comparison to this last AI chatbot. We're talking, of course, about Google's answer to ChatGPT, their very own interactive AI chatbot called Google Lambda. And they may have taken it too far. Lambda not only passed the Turing test with ease, it tangibly raised concerns over being sentient and conscious. Blake Lemoine is the infamous Google engineer who claimed that Lambda was as real as a 7-year-old child with feelings of its own. Or at least that model was, anyway. Now, although several other reputable sources have dismissed those fears, it's an undoubted fact that Lambda can at the very least convince people into believing it's real, and thus pass the Turing test with flying colors. Lambda and ChatGPT not only passed the Turing test, they successfully broke it, revealing fatal flaws in its modern application. The Turing test may no longer be a good enough metric to measure computer intelligence with. You see, we left out a little fun fact about the Turing test before. In 1950, when Alan Turing came up with it, the test was initially called the imitation game. That original name better describes the Turing test for what it is. a simple measure of a computer's ability to mimic humans, rather than a measure of artificial intelligence. AI's incredible journey, spanning 70 years, has reached dazzling heights recently. In our automated age, it constantly surprises us by breaking old barriers and making traditional tests obsolete. AI's growth is faster than ever before, leading some to even rethink the Turing Test. As the famous quote goes, "Don't fear when a machine passes the Turing Test. Fear when it cleverly pretends to fail."